friends, you are in for a treat today because we have a first on this podcast, The Stern Truth Business Unfiltered. And it's a cross promotion between the Stern Truth Business Unfiltered and the Business Therapy Thursday. You see what I'm talking about is back on episode 23, we had a sit down with the amazing David Wallace, who is the founder and owner of Around the Block butcher shop in Ottawa, Ontario. And we talked about his entrepreneurial journey and how he and his wife have built this business, now going into or completing their 13th year very shortly. But today we come back and we sit down and have a deep dive coaching session, which is what we call Business Therapy Thursday. And like I say to David in this session, what got you there may not get you where you want to get to. What got you to where you are now probably won't get you to where you want to go. So, having saying that, we help him get clear on what might be holding him back and what the simple things that he needs to do, him and his wife need to do in order to get the next 13 years, the growth, the traction, building what he and his wife have the vision for this amazing company. And we can have the ideas, we can have the insights, but sometimes we're too stuck in the weeds of our business to actually see them. And even if we do see them, to actually implement and act on them. I think today we have some good clarity. Enjoy. Grab your pad of paper and pen, my friends. This is a deep dive Business Therapy Thursday session.
Hi, I'm Marshall Stern, and I've spent over 35 years leading and growing multiple small businesses. I know firsthand the struggles of entrepreneurship, feeling isolated, lonely, overwhelmed, and feeling like you have to do it all by yourself. I've been through multiple recessions, and I have felt the highs and the lows. I've been there, and I get it. This podcast is here to change that. Every week, I will bring you straight talking advice, real-world strategies, and honest conversations about what it takes to succeed in business without the fluff, the gimmicks, or the sugarcoating. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress, then you are in the right place. This is the Stern Truth.
Hey, David, how are you doing?
Good. Well, it's afternoon. We are so to say good evening. I'm well, thank you. I just wrapped up a day here. We've been closed for 10 minutes now at Around the Block Butcher Market in Ottawa. I'm doing well. How about you?
Awesome. I'm doing well as well. And it has been a minute since we last spoke.
Yes. Thanks for having me on again.
My pleasure. No, it's been great. Been looking forward to this. So you're here. It's Business Therapy Thursday. What would make this conversation really powerful for you?
It's an excellent question. I've been trying to premeditate what maybe we ought to go into today. And I didn't narrow it down to anything hugely specific. And I've mentioned to you before that sometimes my business brain can be a little abstract, and I'm trying to grow out of that in some ways and address the things that do float across my mind regularly. So things that would make today profound or impactful or productive, I think come down to picking direction for the business, picking direction as a leader, where we ought to apply resources. Are we making good use of time on a day-to-day ongoing basis? Addressing some of those, what I suspect are quite common things within a lot of the entrepreneurial people out there.
100%. So I love that because most of us as business owners and entrepreneurs, the road is somewhat windy. And sometimes there are forks in the road, as we know. We're not sure which direction, which path to take. Just refresh my memory. So Around the Block, Butcher has been, you're in the region, Ottawa area?
That's right. We're in
West Ottawa. And you've been in business for what, 13 years?
End of June will be 13 years. And on February 21st, we had 2 years open in our second location. With our first one closed. We closed that one when we moved into this larger space.
Right. So first of all, I want to acknowledge you and compliment you, but really acknowledge you for 13 years.
Thank you. Well, we're 13 yet, but we
12 and change.
Yes.
Okay. And getting through the pandemic, and I know in our podcast episode we did earlier on last year, we talked about that, about how you, the famous word, pivoted, adjusted, and survived through the pandemic.
Yes.
So I just wanted to acknowledge that because 12 and change is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
What do you think? Okay, you mentioned a few things. Leadership, you as the leader. I know we talked about that quite a bit last time in our regular episode, but you talked about where to put our resources and our focus, our attention. And this is a hot topic. Like it really is, because I think that's what we talk about a lot on the Stern Truth, right? It's just focusing on the important activities.
And
That's
it's
what,
all those things are finite. They're very finite.
right? And do you even know what are the right activities that you should be focusing on versus other people on your team right now?
Do I?
No. Yeah.
I think deep down I know. I think when in quiet moments of reflection or what have you, the truth presents itself and things like that. Day to day in here has a lot of immediacy, and taking a bird's eye view, removing myself from that, taking a bird's eye view. And some of what I'm saying also applies to my partner and wife, Chantelle, who works in the business full time as well. She undergoes a lot of these things just as I do, different roles, but where we have a lot of commonality on some of these things. Do I think I'm gaining clarity on some of these things and falling short by my own standards in a number of ways at a number of times? Um, uh, Having said that, there's a lot that we are proud of, and we have come a long way as business owners and entrepreneurs, and we've gained professional skills over time. So it's not like it's non-existent, but it does feel like we're always a bit behind the eight ball on the growth of our business and the growth of ourselves. So
Tell me more about behind the eight ball. Give me an example of what I know. Look, every business has its sort of, you use the word immediacy. Every business has that. Obviously, when you're in a retail environment and you have customers coming in, orders coming in, you got to get them out fast and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of, as you said, you use the word immediacy. There's things you have to deal with. For other people who have more of an office environment and they have employees, it might be them not banging out their door or the phone ringing or the email, all that kind of stuff, right? People, stuff, right? But what would be, when you said behind the eight, sometimes we get behind the eight ball of our growth of the business. Is it because you're stuck in it too much at times?
It can feel that way, and and I don't mean that with any sort of victimhood attached to it or anything like that. No. This is all a scenario of our own doing. It does feel like there are days when it would be nice to sit down and map out or do some framework about how we wish to proceed and move the business forward. I don't know how many days in a row I've worked now. It's been a bunch, and that's on account of most part that immediacy. So we're looking to do some onboarding of staff, not too distant future. Since we spoke last, we've got a new back of house and kitchen manager who's been fantastic and has come to us with a lot of experience and skills already and a really big professional drive. So that's relieved a fair amount of pressure. My oven is dinging.
So that was kind of fitting that we're having a conversation and get to go do something.
Yeah, I try to avoid things like that, but there's immediacy, and then there's cycles in here, and there's building pressure, which really good thing. I think that's being a catalyst or forcing us to think about our business differently. And we do think about our business differently now than we did years past, for sure. Just the quality of thought that we have surrounding it. It is coming from minds that are a bit more experienced in it. And granted, we have much to learn. And this place takes me to school all the time, all the time. But it has been very educational.
I like that, actually. See, that's putting a positive spin on it all, because a lot of people, you use the word victimhood, and that's the least thing you are. And you're actually, one thing I really appreciate about you, and this is not really something I normally do in a coaching session. Well, sometimes I might in a different way, and I remember this from our first conversation, you put a lot of thought and emphasis onto your team, onto your leadership, your role as the leader. Now, do we have it all figured out in business? No. Can we do things better? For sure. We all can, right?
Yeah.
But I know you invest a lot of time and resources on your people, and you have really good people. And I'm wondering for you now, because you put so much into your people, well, here's a question. I'm just going to throw it out there. What does success look like to you?
Success within the business for me would look like, the simple practicalities of us dealing with perishables, increasingly costly perishables, would be having them, turnover at, steadily increasing rates. Our stuff turns over pretty quick, but there's always room for improvement, and especially in this economy too. I think success in some ways would be or could be attributed to having the business grow to the point where it's got the financial resources or there's opportunity for reinvestment, and that could look like a number of things.
Okay.
That could look like maybe onboarding more professional services. That could look like new pieces of equipment. We're certainly not looking to expand beyond the space that we're in now. We're in 3,000 square feet, we have room to grow into for sure. We're not looking at anything like that, at least not anytime soon. I think success could look like, getting to the point where, if Chantelle and I could leave the continent for 2 weeks and feel like it's sort of under control. Part of that would be, having the right amount of people and the right people in the right places, and having the business being sustainable enough or busy enough rather, that the sales are there to support something like that. Think it looks like us collaborating with organizations within our community, getting involved more so in fundraising initiatives and collaborations of that kind. Quite like the idea of supporting the arts community through the business in ways that we can as we go. We're going to be a small sponsor on an upcoming folk festival. Neighboring us is an excellent small theater. Well, it's actually not that small. I think they have 2 rooms. The main one holds, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it holds 1,400 people or something. Anyway, they're our next door neighbor. We got a great relationship with them, finding ways to work together more, things like that. And, all while giving the team room to grow into better versions of themselves professionally and hopefully personally too. It looks like a lot of things.
Okay, so one of the first ones you mentioned was you and Chantelle being able to take 2 weeks away and the place, running smoothly not missing a beat.
Yeah. We took a week off at the beginning of January,
Okay.
which is the first time in years that we've taken a week off, and it was all totally fine.
So why not 2 weeks?
Well, yeah, but also the business needs to be there to get to the point where, not to go into it too much, where we could, afford flights and accommodations to go elsewhere.
Okay.
What we did for the week off before was very economical, but there's the places we'd like to see and things we'd like to experience and what have you.
Right. Okay. But the idea of, so yes, there's the investment or the cost of travel, hotels, all that stuff, flight for sure. But especially even in the summertime, and I assume summer gets to be a busy time.
Yes,
time for you.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. There can be a little like the odd lull here and there in summertime, where a lot of our client base may be away, but for the most part, it's our most consistently busy time frame.
Right.
Day to day.
So I think in the big picture for most businesses, if we can build the business, because you have a solid established business, but you and Chantelle, if you're in there doing it, the idea of building it, like growing the business, is building it so that you can take 2 weeks off. Now, I'm not talking, forget the financial cost of going somewhere.
Sure.
Even just staying at home.
Right.
Staycation, or in the summertime, because, there's obviously this country is beautiful. You can even just take day trips or whatnot.
Yeah.
Sorry?
We love road tripping. So, yeah.
But even like day trips or whatever it be. The idea of being able to take 2 weeks off, having the systems and policies and people and procedures in place so that you can take it off without a care in the world. Okay. And also, you use the word sustainability. And then there's all the other stuff, the collaboration, the community, the fundraising, the arts, all the other things that you want to support, and all the other projects that you have. And some of them you're already working on and you have implemented. Right.
Yeah.
I guess the question would be, do you find, tell me how many hours you work a week?
It ranges, but on an average week, Geez, I'm trying to say an average week, but there's nothing. There's
No average.
week to week. There's no average. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, of course, there's an average somewhere hidden in those figures. But
Normal week, or not even normal,
yeah,
just
yeah.
this week.
Right.
What does it look like?
Well, this week I've been here a lot,
Okay.
and I've been here many days in a row now too. And there's all sorts of reasons for that. One is, offering or not offering, but team members taking vacation here and there, and
Okay.
some of that pressure that's come on recently has been through stories in our local news media that have been very positive about our business here, which is, created an uptick of new customers coming through, et cetera, et cetera. We need to sort of foster that carefully and to the best of our ability.
Okay.
So, these are all good things. We're at a very critical stage for the business, I would say, just over 2 years in the grocery business with a bit of restaurant DNA to it too. And these businesses are quite fragile, and we're there to just give it as much deals as we can at this point in time is sort of the agreement that we have amongst ourselves, like Chantelle and I, that is, because the business really needs it right now. And if the business needs it, we need it. And we need to secure a promising future here. So these opportunities that are coming our way are fantastic. And it's up to us to take advantage of them and create long-term value for the customers.
Okay, so everything you want to build in your business over the next, let's say 3 to 5 years, what do you think, like where you want to take the business, what do you think could, I'm not saying it will, could prevent that?
What do I think could prevent
you achieve so success, what you want, the success that you described?
What sort of obstacles could impede that? Is that,
yeah.
I mean, within ownership and management, burnout can be a force at times. That I've gone through some bouts of it before. I'm better at dealing with the warning signs earlier now than I have been in 10 years ago. Increasing costs of goods resell. We sell a fair amount of beef in our business, and beef's pricing is no joke, and how expensive it has become, or how high dollar value that is at. There's, say we were to lose good people, that would be
okay.
That would blow the pace. Yeah. But I think the level of interest from ownership is just sort of getting higher and higher all the time. We're more engaged by this business all the time.
Is that a good thing?
I think so. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually, I'm using some soft language around that. Yeah, from my experience, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just, there's a question.
And people enter into business for different reasons, right?
Yeah.
Type of business that we're in, at least the one that we're looking to create in the next 3 to 5 years, will require a high level of involvement and engagement.
Yes.
And we're here for it. We're really excited for that. So
yes, that's great. Of course, we can't do that if you're burnt out or burning out, which you mentioned. You did say something in the form leading up to this session. So I want to I want to go right into this. I just want to get to the heart of it, right? Because you said, I'm going to read, quote, actually, let me just pull it up again, because it's your words. One outcome you'd like to achieve during our session, to break my tunnel vision, end quote. What do you mean by that?
I think what I mean by that is partially, taking a bird's eye view of the operations and procedures here, and identifying the fractures or where the friction is or wherever, and smoothing that out. And in the day-to-day, like I said, I can put a lot of energy into what's happening then and now, and later is very abstract,
right?
Well, the time frame that is not right now, where all this needs to happen, task XYZ or whatever. There's now and later,
it is elusive because later is always later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you use the word immediacy. So obviously the stuff that is immediate is always going to be immediate. stuff that can be, oh, everything else can be later, will always be later. So exactly.
Mm.
So that's great insight to have. I guess that is probably, and this is the stern truth, that is probably the number one thing that's going to not hold you back, but it will slow down the process. It will slow down achieving that success looks like for you. And again, success is not an end game.
Right.
In
Right.
fact, I would suggest you have success right now.
And yes, and thank you, and I agree with you too. I hope I never become of the mindset that we've achieved something and that it's all done.
Right.
I hope that I don't mature into that. I don't think I will, but
no, there's always more. It's about having goalposts, 3-year plan, 5-year plan, right? And it's always moving out another 3, another 5, hitting the goalposts. Okay, we're on track. But yes,
and the definition of success by from my own personal success or professional success is subject to change, and that's probably a good thing too.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's for everyone. Success is defined differently by everyone. And sometimes it might be a financial, sometimes it might be more spiritual, sometimes, success is, it's all eye of the beholder, as they say.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
You made a comment a little while ago about building the business to a point where you can start, can't remember exactly how you put it, but you talked about bring on other resources, professional services.
Mm-hmm.
What did you maybe elaborate a little bit more on that, if you could?
Sure. So whether that's marketing and social media company or individual, to relieve some of that pressure so that again it can help increase the bird's eye view of what we're doing here, free up that headspace. HR is one of the trickier hats to wear. I think a lot of people would agree with me there, if not the trickiest hat to wear. And having rock solid resources to utilize within our business to build better framework. And I kind of got a little off topic there, but I might ask. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, it really goes to what do you think you really truly, David? What do you think you and Chantelle need in order for this business to continue to grow and get to this different stages that you want? What do you think would really help in the next, let's just say the next 6 months? Because you talk about tunnel vision. What's going to help you get out that bird's eye view? What is going to help you stay accountable and work on the right activities and move away from some of the wrong? What is it that?
I mean, even something as simple as, I think, 4 to 5 days being physically off site from the business and focusing on nothing but the business for to 11 hours a day within those days, and really talking things out in detail and doing more homework and knocking on more doors. Again, just sort of starting to map it out, what we want the not too distant future to look like. I think that'd be a hugely beneficial exercise for us. And we talk about it, and then sometimes a day off together will appear and we don't tackle these things. And I think that's because may have just worked a good number of them in a row. We get one off and then we're going to work a number of them in a row again. So it's more like, laundry and groceries kind of stuff. But I think if we were to, again, do a lot of that mind work, by the end, we could come up with a pretty good deliverable, if you will, business, and to introduce the staff to and things like that. What 4 or 5 days wouldn't do it, but it'd be a great start.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it would be. What if said to you, it's going to be very difficult for you to not have tunnel vision when you're actually in the store.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Now, I don't know do you have an actual office or are you sitting in your office?
No, at the moment I'm sitting in our customer area.
Right.
To my right, I've got some of our display cases.
Right.
And to my left, I've got our big front windows that give us lots of natural light, which has been a huge quality of life improvement compared to our old store. But we do have an office here.
Okay.
It's not as utilitarian as I thought it might be, but however, it is very nice to have an office on site. The previous store, we didn't have an office on site, so that's been a major bonus. Right. But it has its quirks and it has its downfalls, and it's not necessarily a peaceful retreat to get into deep flow work.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm imagining it. So I'm imagining that you're rarely in your office. And if
I'm
you
not in there
are,
that much. Chantel's in there more. Yeah.
and if you were in your office, you might get some interruptions from frequently with questions.
Yeah, and I have a do not disturb sign that I could put on the door handle. I just don't use it that
You
much.
don't use it. Right.
Yeah, because
Okay.
if the staff are coming to me for something, often
Yeah.
because they felt they had to. So
One of the things we talk about a lot on the Stern Truth, and one of the reasons why I started like the entrepreneur inner circle, entrepreneur being ON, is because and we talk about this a lot, is as business owners, we need to work more on the business than just in it. Now, when we start in a business, and you're 13 years in, sorry, 12 and change in. Okay. We need to move away from just being in means being physically in as well.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So that we can be on it.
Mhm.
Especially when you're in an environment that you're in where you have your staff there, you have a small little office, and there's going to be interruptions, and you're not, it's boundaries too, right? You're not respecting that space to be your space. Probably. It's just my assumption.
I never
Yes.
thought about it that way, but there might be a bit of truth to that. Yeah.
It's the hard, stern truth, the stern truth. So instead of taking 4 or 5 days away, one thing I would suggest is one day. Like, I don't know, how many days a week do you actually normally do have off?
You know, maybe 1 1/3.
Okay. Are you guys open 7 days?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it ranges, right? Like on a quieter week in the dead of winter, maybe I'll take 3 off.
Right.
But usually it's not consecutive weeks or whatever. That might just be 1 week. But
So really, this is where the whole team has to be involved. So my suggestion to you, we can talk about this further, but my suggestion to you would be to have one day, now you can work it. It could be a half a day or it could be a full day, a CEO day.
Mhm.
I would do 1 day a week. Okay. And this is not like you're out golfing or playing tennis or pickleball or whatever you'd like to do.
Well, a lot of business is probably done on the golf court.
I was good unless
Yeah.
I'm doing business. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I know on the pickleball court as well.
Oh, yeah, is that right? Okay.
Yeah. Not as much tennis, but pickleball is very social. Pickleball is a lot of social. I'm not like a pickleballer, but I've only played twice.
I've only golfed 4 times, so
Okay. So maybe don't do the golf. But honestly, like if you could, and it's discipline, but it's blocking the time. Now, I would suggest, depending on for other people, it might be if they have a proper office and there's boundaries and they can get away and they can go in there and they can focus, then block the time and do the on it work. So on it work is when you're totally freeing your mind of all the stuff that's going on there and the staff and everything, and you're actually able to, as you use the word, be in flow and think about opportunities for the business, the growth, collaboration opportunities, making phone calls, visiting people, all that kind of stuff, right? It's probably very difficult to do when you're there. So
it is. And I think, with the right mindset and the right opportunity to do so, I can be quite effective in it. It does feel like something that doesn't happen regularly in my.
You have to be the one to make the change.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be the one to, first of all, want the change. And if I were your coach, I would be holding you accountable to doing that. So pick a day. If you want to start with half a day or you do a full day, right? It depends on how you operate and what would work best. Some people think a whole day. What am I going to do for a whole day? There's a lot you can do. But if you want to start just a full day away from the store, it could be half a day doing whatever you want and then half a day inflow, right?
For me too, a little bit of homework before that time about what I actually want to achieve would be hugely beneficial too.
No.
So I don't go in blind because when I go into things blind, I'll fall apart. But
we would have to make a plan, 100%. Like you would have to make a plan, work with Chantelle on it, or we could talk about it, but you have to make a plan and could say, these are my goals. This is what for the month of March, for the month of April, this is what we want to achieve. This is what I want to achieve. These are the rocks, so to speak, that I want to achieve. Let's do this. So it's Monday is the day I'm going to do this. It's the day's blocked. And the staff know this is your CEO day. So, because a lot of business owners, before we go, I just want to get to this. A lot of business owners think, I can't take time off. My staff's going to think that I'm like playing around. I'm playing hooky and doing whatever. First of all,
I've been in that trap. Yes.
So first of all, I want to say, who cares? Oh, we do care, right? There's the two
Hard not,
mindsets.
hard
What's,
not to.
what's that?
It's hard not to.
Well, it's hard not to, but there's one school of thought. Well, I pay them, so I pay them to do the work. I can do whatever I want, right? Honestly, most of us into business, we start a business, we buy a business, we're in business because we want freedom of time, freedom of money, and then we end up getting less of both. So if we want to have more of both, we have to be the one to take control of that. And we have to communicate that to our team. This is what I'm doing, right? You can even blame me. Okay. You could just say, I was in a coaching session and my coach said, you got to do this. And he suggests he really wants me to do the CEO day. I'm going to try it. So Mondays or whatever day it is, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to be available. Okay. Now, if you and Chantelle do it together, I don't know how that works, or you just do it yourself so she can be the go-to, or they can figure it out on their own. Unless the place, emergencies, I'm not available.
I think in the not too distant future, we'll be onboarding 2 more full-timers.
Yep.
At the moment, the staffing levels are such that, frankly, it needs people power.
Yep.
We're going to give it that to the best
Okay.
of our ability very soon.
Yeah.
And I think that will be helpful as well. And the business needs it.
Yeah.
And we need it too. But the business needs us to get adequate people power in here so that we can, again, do these ownership tasks that are expected of us, and frankly make the place, or at least hopefully if we're successful in it, make the place a better place for our customers and a better place for our team. But
a better place for the two of you.
Yes, but it's not gonna, none of this stuff is linear from my experience, it's all little.
Yes. But it does take bold action. Okay. And that's the thing. So even if they don't have the staff right now to be able to do that, what can you do? Can it be 2 hours? You go out for 2 hours, you go to a coffee shop, right?
We do love coffee.
So there are things you can do. So before we go, I'm going to ask you this. What can you commit to trying, at least in the short term, that can eventually grow into something maybe a bit longer, that would allow you away from the store to be able to work on some of the, as you called, like the bird's eye, having the bird's eye view?
Yeah. I think that 3 to 4 hours a week is probably not too much to ask of myself, nor of this place, nor of the team. That day of the week may change. Excuse me. I've been battling a cold for a little bit, and not sleeping too much and just working. So, but yeah, 3 to 4 hours a week, I think is probably realistic. And what momentum that 3 or 4 hours creates, as it spreads across the other business days of the week in terms of communication with, outside people elsewhere or whatever. Also putting a bit more stricter measure on the follow up and follow through of everything. I've taken a lot of things to 90%, and it's that last 10% where the wins are. And I've stopped at 90 plenty of times.
Yeah. You're not the first person I've heard that from. Okay. So we might have to have you back to check on how the remaining 10% went.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll switch my focus to the last 10%. I think it's a great concept and goal. So
here's the thing. Okay. We talked about, you talked about the tunnel vision. You talked about burnout. You talked about really building this business and ultimately being able to go away for 2 weeks, A, afford it, B, to be able to do it financially and also team-wise, right?
Yes.
All that is going to be possible. The only way that's going to be possible is for you to start to work more on it. And I'm not taking away those 3 to 4 hours is not coming out of your 1 3/4 days that you're not in the store. Those 3 to 4 hours come out of your work day because it is work, right? Okay.
Yeah. And in fact, it ought to be treated as deep work.
It is deep work. It is critical work. I call it audit work. You want to call it CEO work, whatever kind of work you want to call it. And you communicate that to your team, but you have to be consistent about it. Now, obviously, a team member calls in sick and you got to cover, then you can move it to the afternoon or to the next day. But the point is not to let it be the later we talked about, right?
We did talk about later. Yeah. I'm familiar with later.
Because tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow's always tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
So the later it's out of the vocabulary. Just say, okay, if it's not today, I'm doing it Tuesday, this time to this time, or Wednesday from this time to this time. And getting away from this, okay, I'll just do it later. I'll do it when I can get around to it. Because you're never going to get around to it. Tomorrow never comes.
I needed to hear it from somebody else.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully this was helpful, but we'll see how helpful it really was when we do a follow-up.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah.
Okay. So in your words, David, before we go, what are you committed to trying and doing over the next couple of weeks?
3 to 4 hours a week in the morning is when I'm best. On a business day, Monday to Friday. Actually, no, not on a Monday to Wednesday. Those 3 business days.
Yeah.
Thursday and Friday have different personalities.
Yeah. God, no, I understand. Yeah.
Monday to Wednesday in the morning. I should be looking critically at things that are concerning me within the business, where I think the opportunities are.
Yeah.
Even simple little, things to smooth out our point of sale for better, smoother transactions executed by the staff. I mean, things like there's a lot. There's a lot. We bit off a lot, but we like what we bit off. So
yeah. Well, you know what? But honestly, if you start doing this consistently, that tunnel vision will go away, because you're going to actually be seeing it from a 30,000 foot view, the bird's eye view, and you're going to be able to actually look at see the opportunities and not get to that point where you might have been 10 years ago when you're burnt out, right? You're going to be refreshed. You've got the passion and energy to grow this business, but we have to maintain that, and we have to see things not from the inside, but from the outside.
Right. And we've had just a 13-year run that I'm very proud of. And the next 13 years, in a lot of ways, I want them to look quite different.
What got you here will not get you there.
Yeah, exactly.
As they say, right? Yeah. So let's go. Let's do this. Okay. So thank you for coming on to this Business Therapy Thursday episode. We will follow up with you. You don't go anywhere. All of you go somewhere. Go down and give this podcast a 5-star review so that everyone else can see David's insights and what he's committed to more than anything. And we're going to all follow up with him in the future. We'll see you again next week on another episode of The Stern Truth Business Unfiltered.
Thank you so much for tuning in to The Stern Truth. If you found today's episode helpful, we would love to hear from you. Please like, share, and leave us a review. Also, if you'd like to be a guest in an upcoming episode or join us in one of our Momentum Accountability Group sessions, simply email me to marshall@marshallstern.net. That's marshallstern.net. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep pushing forward and leading with confidence.